Alright, we are recording for Chapter 8 of The Princess Bride, which is also the final one. Um, then we get Buttercup's baby after it. Though it's actually kind of funny, because, well, it's Buttercup's baby and explanation. The ending, though, is, I don't care for the ending. I'll explain. But first I need to get there. I need to do that as well. If you could hear that, my armrests here, I can turn in. It's actually more comfortable if I'm reading because I got my elbows on them than if they're straight. But anyway, where did this start? A lot of the chapter is very similar to the movie. Not everything, but a lot is. Yeah, so we've got in the trio gaining entrance by yelling, giving over the key because when Fezzik's still in a burning Holocaust cloak is about to rip your arms off, you kind of comply. A little bit of talking between them as far as what do they do, where do they meet up. Also, Humperdinck has moved up the marriage, but he also apparently emptied the room out, so it's only him, Buttercup, the Archdeacon. It says, which by the way, the speech impediment is in the book. That wasn't just a gag for the movie. That is in the book. He's also mostly deaf. Yeah, so it's those three Rugen in the room. Outside are their four best fencers. It describes the castle being empty. Well, the king and queen do come down, so it's like they are also there, so. Yeah, but I mean, they're not at the chapel, though. They're not at the chapel. So, not initially, because basically they didn't know the time to go. Nobody told them that Humperdinck moved the time up. But we do still have the whole Humperdinck pressuring the guy to just go to man and wife, you know, that whole thing. Which is interesting because it doesn't come up later, and I do want to get to that in a moment. But once that occurs, Humperdinck immediately orders Rugen to leave, to go with the fencers, because now Wesley, Fezzik, and Inigo are in the castle. They don't know that that's who it is, and once they get there, Rugen is shocked because I just killed that guy. I got no idea who the giant is. Why is this swarthy fellow with a sword and these pale scars kind of look familiar? Why am I remembering something here? Because he doesn't recognize Inigo yet. Yeah, I do want to check something. I can't remember. Okay. Okay, yeah. So he orders the four fencers to go forward. Inigo dispatches them so quickly that the fourth is dead before the first one can hit the ground. And then he, turns to face Rugen. And it's the first time we get him actually saying it to him instead of just practicing. Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. And in reply, the Count did a genuinely remarkable and unexpected thing. He turned and ran. How else do we know that from the movie? But still, that's what happens there. And Inigo does tear off after him. By the way, there's also a gimmick in here with it was now 5:37, because at 5:55, Wesley's strength is going to leave him. He's not going to die, but it is going to leave him. And they don't know that. They figure he's got more time. And it does help with keeping the timeline straight, but I feel like in the movie, because you can assume that events are occurring more or less in parallel as they cut between them in the movie, I feel like it would have been better if that's more so what happened here, is it just hopped around between them, rather than saying, like, oh, it's this time, because then you get to the next moment and it's like 7 minutes prior. Just felt a little odd there. Yeah, Inigo chases down Rugen. Fezzik's job is to stay with Wesley. Wesley, don't forget, is able to walk. Inigo gets to the door. He cannot open it. And he can't break it because he's just a skinny little Spaniard fencer. So he's yelling for Fezzik to come. And Fezzik doesn't really want to go because, like, my job is to help Wesley. But it's like, nope. I need you. Fezzik, come here. I need you to break down the door. And Wesley's like, yeah, it's okay. But he wanders off and eventually gets into Humperdinck's bedchambers, which is where the king and queen lead Buttercup to. She does say goodnight to them, but we don't have, like in the movie, where she kisses the king on the cheek, and then he can go up, she kissed me. We don't get that. Nor the whole her telling him, you shan't see me in the morning because I'll kill myself tonight. Isn't that nice? You don't have that. Which, I mean, that's okay. That's okay. That's more of a gimmick for the movie than the book. That's fine. A gimmick that I wish could have been in the book, though, and I understand why it's not. Fezzik actually struggles to open up the door in the book. That he throws his shoulder against it, that's not going to. If he charges at it, that's not going to. He then has to go back down the corridor and run and then jump, so it's all of his weight hits the door for it to splinter. And I do think in the movie it is better where it's just Andre comes up and just goes wham, and then motions for Inigo to enter. But in the book's defense, in the movie you see Mandy Patinkin constantly, just running and jumping and slamming himself into it as hard as he can, just constantly doing that. And the scream, so it's like, because you already have that visual there, then doing the contrast of Fezzik hitting, it is funny. You can't quite do that in the book as well, so. But it still is. This may sound weird. The power scaling for Fezzik does seem inconsistent throughout the book. Because, like, how there's a description that his thumb is larger than a grown man's hand, kind of thing. That, he is massive, he's supposed to be so powerful, but there are these times when it seems he's not that large, for one thing. That even Andre the Giant is not necessarily that different in size, it seems like. Even though in one of the introductions it describes that Andre was not as big as him. Just certain references in other chapters of, like, Inigo being able to reach his shoulder so comfortably. It's like, wait a minute. How is Andre a giant, or is he just a normal-sized man who's very powerful? Anyway, so now him struggling with that door, it just seems odd, because you'd think that the door he smashed down in the Zoo of Death would have been harder to get through than this, but whatever. He then goes back and finds Wesley isn't there, and now he's freaking out because the whole, I had one job, I screwed up, there's so many corridors here, which one do I take? I need to take the right one, I cannot be stupid here, I need to take the right one, he takes the wrong one. But that's okay, because he ends up finding the horses. He's still really freaking out, but he did find them thinking that, it would be good to bring them. And Inigo does compliment him, much like in the movie, but in the book it is clear this is hey, you actually thought for yourself and you did good. You did do good. You didn't think for yourself and do wrong like so many other times. You did good. So that's nice. That's nice. But anyway, Buttercup is in Humperdinck's bedchambers, not realizing yet that Wesley is lying there in the bed. And Humperdinck keeps a selection of weapons in his room, which, I mean, it's a little odd that it's in the bedchamber necessarily. I mean, I can understand the whole, keeping a weapon like a gun on your bedside, just in case something comes up. But that seems more of a, you have the one there that you need. Whereas this is apparently there's a cabinet full of swords and assorted cutlery. And she pulls out a Florinese dagger, which I do want to talk about because what Rugen throws at Inigo in the book and in the movie is also described as one. And there's an aspect of its design that really makes it more impressive, what Inigo does. The one she grabs, so Humperdinck's, is described as very large, so it'd be larger than Rugen's, but critically it describes that while the tip is smooth, as it gets to the hilt, she describes it as being like the size of her wrist, but a triangle. Now, we actually have had triangle blades before. They are banned, however, as war crimes. These things, I don't remember what they were actually called, but they were developed they were used at least in World War I because the trench coat was actually really tough. You don't realize how tough fabric can be. But the trench coat was such that a bayonet, a normal knife-style bayonet, wouldn't actually get through. That's how durable these things were. So what they came up with was this triangle blade that would actually, because it is larger and more rigid, it would actually be able to punch through. You could put a lot more power behind it. It would punch through the wool of the trench, I think it was wool, of the trench coat. The problem is, and this is why it became a war crime, is a single cut like that, you can stitch that back up. A triangle cut, you can't. It's very difficult. So this fell under the whole, yeah, this weapon, it is more likely to kill, but it takes a while for something to bleed out. You're basically maiming somebody or mutilating somebody with this weapon. We're not okay with that it being used in war, so yeah, war crime. But that's what a Flornese dagger is. And that's what Rugen also throws into Inigo. So it's like, okay, that makes more sense for why that wound is as grievous as it is. That, it's not just a single slash through. No, it's a hunk of metal that pierced into him and jumbled up his intestines. We do get the line in before she kills herself of, yeah, let me read it, because if I just go by memory, I'll screw it up, I'm sure. Okay, it is a little different from the movie in the bulk of it, but there's one specific thing that I think the movie does better. There are always too few perfect breasts in this world. Leave yours alone, is what he says in the book. Whereas in the movie, it's there's so few perfect breasts in the world. It would be a shame to damage yours, I think, is what is in the movie, and I like that better. It would be a shame to damage yours, because not a leave yours alone like a command, but just a more assertive, just why would you damage them? Don't damage them. They're beautiful. They're wonderful. They're perfect. I like that better. And plus, it is because he is in a passive position. He's lying down in bed. How it draws her attention. I feel that works better. So I do think that the movie has the better line there. She then does go to him and starts jumps on top of him, is smothering him in kisses, and he does have the whole gently line because he is still weak. He has strength. He can move about. He got there. Don't forget. Yeah, he is weak. And let's finish up with Rugen first. And it does actually cut back to Rugen at this point anyway. Rugen and Inigo. So Inigo being stabbed with the thing is feeling that he has failed, and he ends up getting two flashes in his mind. One is his father basically saying, if this is it, if this is where you're going to die, you should have done it years ago and let me rest. The other is McPherson, the Scott swordmaster who had taught him to, I described before, being more adaptive. But also, it's like, what do you do when you're wounded? You shove your hand in it. You cover it, I should say. So Inigo pulls out the knife and shoves his hand in there to stop the bleeding. And immediately, it describes he can feel a bit better because he's not losing as much blood. So he does that, and then say, okay, well, now what? And again, it's McPherson telling him, I wish I had a Pollock. A Pollock at least is smart. Spaniards are so stupid. That's how it's putting it. Because McPherson in his head is just saying, a Pollock would know to use the wall. A Spaniard forgets that. Because Inigo is against a wall, and he starts pushing with his legs and having the wall support him and slowly coming up. Now he's still in very bad shape, and Rugen is approached by this, and I'm trying... The pacing, I feel, in the movie is better. Might also just be that it's closer. But, not closer, but, because it's more visual there than the book, it works a bit better. Okay. Yeah, so as Inigo is pushing himself up, Rugen approaches and tries attacking him again to stab him in the heart and kill him. And Inigo, it does make it sound almost passive in the book, just deflecting it, deflecting the strike, which actually is kind of what you see in the movie. Where it doesn't seem like Inigo is fully conscious at this moment. He just does that and deflects it into his left shoulder. Rugen tries again, and Inigo again deflects it into his left arm, okay? This is one thing that's actually bothered me in the movie for quite a while, that he first deflects into the left shoulder, and then he deflects into the right. It's like, he needs to use his right shoulder. Why is he letting himself be stabbed there? Like, he should be deflecting it over here, because this doesn't matter for him. Just this. Um, okay, yeah. So he gets stabbed both times, and now he's digging his left hand in further, and it's also Rugen is like, what the heck? Um, so Inigo is like recovering more, and he starts again. The hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. So it's getting closer, and they cross swords, and the count went for the quick kill, the inverse Bonetti. Previously, Bonetti had been described as defensive. Well, the Bonetti defense has been mentioned previously, so if you remember that, then it's like, okay, so it's guess you invert that, and it's an attack. No chance. Inigo repeats the line again. Then the count moved into a Morozo defense because the blood was still streaming. So I just want to point this out because I have no idea what the Morozo defense is, but we are given the context right there because the blood is still streaming. So I assume it is something of this is what you use when your enemy is weakened. I don't know why you'd use that over something else, but that would seem to be the context there. And I don't want to fail to point that out because I still hate the duels described in Revenge of the Sith. Yeah. The Count retreated around the billiard table. Inigo slipped in his own blood. Count continued to retreat, waiting. Yeah, and now at this point, Inigo is in complete controls and complete dominance here. And is continuing to approach Rugen. And gives him cuts on the cheeks, as we see. So he's reflecting the wounds Rugen had given him before. Stabs him in the left shoulder, left arm. So again, they are equal. Well, as far as those wounds, nothing to the belly. That's fine. But then he does stab. Would be about here, I think. To the left of the heart, not the heart itself, to the left of the heart, and then again below it. And he asks Rugen, do you know what I'm doing? It's like, you're cutting out my heart, just as you did to me when I was 10 years old. Now, what's interesting at this point is he doesn't actually kill Rugen by stabbing him again. Rugen dies of fear, is how it's actually described here. You know, I shouldn't have pulled my fingers out. I think I'm actually there. Yeah. Cutting my heart out. You took mine when I was 10, I want yours now. We are lovers of justice, you and I. What could be more just than that? The Count screamed one final time and then fell dead of fear. Inigo looked down at him. The Count's frozen face was petrified and ashen, and the blood still poured down the parallel cuts. On his face. His eyes bulged wide, full of horror and pain. It was glorious if you liked that kind of thing. Inigo loved it. He does not... You know, in the movie, you see him actually pull the hand out and take a fencing stance to challenge Rugen. In this, it's a no. He's just like Rugen may as well not have his sword. It seems, but it is also if Inigo does that, he's gonna die if he pulls his hand out. So he does keep it in. It's like that. The book it makes more sense for. Yeah. So coming back to Humperdinck's bedchambers, Wesley's still lying there. And it's like Buttercup's like, well, what are we gonna do? It's like, you know, just made all that. He's like, widows happen. Then Humperdinck is there. Well, yeah, because like widows happen every day, don't they, Prince? And Humperdinck is like, I don't know how you're alive. I killed you only yesterday, but I'll just have to do it again. And then Wesley is like, well, the choice is yours. Either you can leave and everybody lives, or it's to the pain. And it even describes that Humperdinck is like, well, I mean, not quite that reaction, but okay, you know, I was going to attack you, but I'm very curious now. What is to the pain? And there are a few things like Wesley explaining there about how I am the Dread Pride Roberts. Yeah, I kind of figured that. you also followed the tracks when I dueled out at the top of the cliffs of Insanity. They were clearly the motions of a master, and I won. So basically saying that I'm going to kick your ass if we do this. Oh crap, I'm trying to remember, because he also insults his hunting a little bit. It's very long-winded. Wesley thinks he has more time, but it does eventually get to the pain, which is a little different than in the movie. There's the things excised for the movie, and to be honest, in that speech I can understand it. Because, you get the whole cut off at the ankles, but what he then says is, you'll have stumps in 6 months. Cut off your hands at the wrists. Those heal faster. It'll be about 5 months. It's like adding that extra element of the time. It's like, I understand that being cut from the movie. That's a bit much. It goes through all that. He does not stand up, though. He doesn't. Wesley stays in bed for all of this. And it's one of those... I do like the moment better in the movie. I think even if you were to somehow integrate in the resurrection pill ending at around now, even if you were to integrate that in somehow, I still think Wesley actually putting in that effort, not just lying there saying things, would be better. Because Humperdinck, yes, he's a coward, but Wesley's only saying things. He's not that... Humperdinck isn't stupid. If he sees a man who apparently can't defend himself is threatening him, he's just going to kill the guy. But no, he does ultimately drop the sword, and at this moment is when the pill wears off, and Wesley throws his head back, and his eyes roll back because he's in pain, and he did feel something was coming, he just wasn't sure what. And Humperdinck then does reach for the sword to pick that up and go again, and Inigo, sorry, not Inigo, he's not there yet. Wesley does yell at him. Now you will suffer. To the pain. His eyes were open again. Open and blazing. I'm sorry, I meant nothing. I didn't. Look. And the prince dropped his sword a second time. Yeah, and then it's just Wesley telling Buttercup tie him up. Yeah, I just want to... Okay. There's also a little bit about with the whole, I'm a master, also as a pirate. There's certain things I can do with. We have our special tricks with swords. Yeah, tie him, Wesley said to Buttercup. Be quick about it. Use the curtain sashes. They look enough to hold him. You do it so much better, Buttercup replied. I'll get the sashes, but I really think you should do the actual tying. Woman, Wesley Ward, you are the property of the dread pirate Roberts, and you do what you're told. Gathered the sashes and did what she could with tying up her husband. Yeah, I wasn't afraid of you, he said to Wesley. I dropped my sword because it will be so much more pleasure for me to hunt you down. You think so, do you? I doubt you'll find us. I'll conquer Gilder, and then I'll come for you. The corner you least expect to, when you round it, you will find me waiting. I am the king of the sea. I await you with pleasure. Is he tied yet? Sort of. This is when Inigo comes in. Which one thing curious. Buttercup cried out at the blood. Inigo ignored her, looking around. Where's Fezzik? It's like, she has no reason to believe that Inigo is friendly. And it's like same thing with Fezzik, and she does know who he is. And it's like, he's crying out at the blood, not the dude who was 3 months ago, but did contribute to kidnapping her and was talking about killing her as well. I mean, it's like, then Fezzik arrives and all that. Yeah, no, I'll go straight to this. So they get on the horses, jump down, get on the horses. And as they're trying to leave, they have the key, so they know they can go through the front gate. But Yellen has reformed the Brute Squad to try to stop them. And now it's Buttercup's turn to do something, because, like, oh, shit, what are we going to do? Yes, seeing this, Wesley shook his head. I am dry of notions. Child's play, of all people, Buttercup said. and she led the group toward Yellen. The Count is dead, the Prince is in grave danger. Hurry now, and he may yet save him. All of you, go. Not a boot moved. They obey me, Yellen said, and I'm in charge for enforcement, and I, Buttercup said, I, she repeated, standing up in the saddle, a creature of infinite beauty and eyes that was starting to grow frightening. I, she said for the third and last time, am the Queen. I'm not trying to say it in her voice with the power that would have to be there, but there was no doubting her sincerity or power or capability for vengeance. That I can believe. She stared imperiously across the boot squad. Save Humperdinck, one boot said, and with that they all dashed into the castle. Save Humperdinck, Yellen said. The last one left, but clearly his heart wasn't in it. And then Buttercup, after they leave, says that that's technically a fib. She isn't the queen yet because the king hasn't resigned. But then, I mean, it's like she even referred to Humperdinck as a prince who would be king if she went. But anyhow, I do find the ending rather disappointing. Not that that's fine, you know, whatever. It is a little bit out of character for her. I feel she for a lot of the no, I guess her jumping in with the sharks and all that does allow this to happen, but for a lot of it, this and that were both exceptions. Were both like aberrations to a character. So but well, here it goes on, and it's. Basically, Wesley and Buttercup promise to never die. It's like, don't you have to do that? Well, we'll just promise each other to outlive each other. So they'd always have to go. Oh, and also there was the whole, what happened to you on the bed? I suppose I was dying again, so I asked the Lord of permanent affection for the strength to live that day. Clearly, to live the day. Clearly the answer came in the affirmative. I didn't know there was such a fellow, Buttercup said. Neither did I, in truth. But if he didn't exist, I didn't much want to either. It's an interesting way to put it, but it is also, there's not necessarily a reason to believe that he wasn't going to recover. Him being in pain, yeah, that's fine. But it just, that seems an odd explanation there. Because Miracle Max said it'll take, or Valerie, whichever, said that it would take months for him to regain enough strength to be fighting. So clearly, even after the pill loses its maximum efficiency, after the 40 minutes in this case, it's still, like, he's not, he has to live those extra months, so it's, I find that odd. But yeah, after they promise each other, Goldman gives us an aside with his father saying, and lived happily ever after. Wow, I said. He looked at me. You're not pleased? No, it's just it came so quick. The ending, it surprised me. Thought there'd be a little more is all. I mean, was the pirate ship waiting, or was it just a rumor like it said? Complained to Mr. Morgenstern, and lived happily ever after is how it ends. And this was, his father was actually lying. The ending, they try to say is just Morgenstern trying to be satirical, but it's like, I mean, I don't know. I got problems with it. Buttercup looked at him. Oh my, well, that was part of their pledge. So do I. Okay. From behind them suddenly, closer than they had imagined, they could hear the roar of Humperdinck, stop them, cut them off. They were admittedly startled, but there was no reason for worry. They were on the fastest horses in the kingdom, and the lead was already theirs. However, this was before Inigo's wound reopened, and Wesley relapsed again, and Fezzik took the wrong turn, and Buttercup's horse threw a shoe. And the night behind them was filled with the crescendoing sound of pursuit, and it just trails off. That's how Morgenstern, in theory, actually ended it. I don't really like either. Honestly, I think the movie ends it far better. You've got the setup already that Wesley can just pass being the Dread Pirate Roberts on to Inigo, who needs something to do. We don't really know what happens to Fezzik, but I mean, he could either continue with Inigo or potentially stay with Wesley and Buttercup. That the marriage isn't valid, and it isn't. It's like there's no recognition of that here, because yes, the I do's do count, they do matter. So that just being ignored is, you know, it is in the movie, it's on the book. It's like, so it is brought up in the movie, it is not in the book. It's like that is also that really does help with the ending. Like, you had the pieces set up for a good ending. Well, here, all the pieces are set up to get the ending we have in the movie in the book, but that's not the ending given in either version. The happily ever after or the supposed canon version. And it's like, it helps because that way Humperdinck is not her husband, so Wesley and Buttercup can indeed get married. They can also have a life of luxury without him being a pirate, because he doesn't need to be Roberts. He can just retire somewhere else. And I'm also just thinking, Humperdinck, he can't go to war with Gilder, because the reason of Buttercup having been killed doesn't work. Kidnapped, yeah, maybe, but you have so many people that saw her escaping with people who are not of Gilder, so that's kind of a problem. I mean, Yellen, sure, will do whatever, but the brutes saw her leaving and also commanding them to go to him, so it's like, Humperdinck should be in a very weakened position. And it is also a, so what if Humperdinck does try to hunt them down? Wesley will beat him because he is a wizard at fencing. He just needs enough time to recover. And who knows, it could also be hey, I got a pirate ship. Here you go. Why don't you go help Gilder? I mean, it's not unreasonable. So, I mean, it's... Yeah, I don't like the ending. It feels like things aren't addressed. Inigo's wound is grievous. Like, if anything, it should be go back to Miracle Max, and it'd be like, you told us an hour? Yeah, only 40 minutes. I screwed up the amounts. Okay, that's fine. Here's how you're gonna make it up to us. You see this guy? Yeah? You're gonna fix him. Oh, yeah, he needs it. I mean, it's like, you do something like that. And it's like, that works. I mean, I don't know. It's just, I don't care for that ending. So it will be interesting then to see what's in the Buttercup's Baby, because it is meant to be a continuation. Let me just see. Okay, it's about 20 pages long, a little bit longer. And we get the explanation, then we get the actual chapter, but that's going to be broken up. I mean, there are breakpoints in it, so it's not that I need to break it up for length, but I think breaking it up at those points is still going to be good. But yeah, so I am curious, since Buttercup's Baby itself would indicate that Morgenstern's ending was more or less false. Because they have to be able to live happily ever after, especially because the four of them are alive in it. Inigo, I'm pretty sure I remember seeing he is alive. Wesley and Buttercup are not only alive, they're married and have a daughter. And Fezzik is also alive. He's very much involved in it. Just from seeing titles, I know he's very much involved in it. I've not been talking about that stuff for reasons that will make sense when we get to it. I'm a little immune to spoilers, so yeah, but I don't want to spoil it for you guys. But yeah, I do not care for the ending of the book. I think the movie ends better. So I'll also just add this then, and I've said this before. If you get this version, which is a 30th anniversary edition that has the 3 introductions, skip the first 2. Skip the 30th anniversary edition, skip the 25th anniversary edition. It's an anniversary introduction. Read, which says The Princess Bride, which, well, technically starts at page 1. How many pages is that actually in? It's that far in. So it's about 43 pages in. So yeah, start there. I think the 2 introductions I found dull and dragging enough. I mean, fine enough written, but dull and dragging enough that it drained me of energy before I got to this. In fact, I struggled with even getting through the introduction to the book before chapter 1. So where I'm telling you to start, even that was a little bit, I was already drained, and that wasn't helping that. But I do think starting there and then going forward, it would be fine. The energy to read, I think, would have been fine. It was just 30th and 25th anniversaries were too much. I would actually recommend even reading through Buttercup's Baby and then going back to read the introductions. I know that sounds weird to read the introductions after you finish everything, but the 30th anniversary edition, the 30th anniversary introduction references Buttercup's baby. As I said, I'm kind of immune to spoilers. Like, I can. It's kind of because of the criticizing of stories that I can just like look at it and still be like, oh, okay, so that's fine. Well, let me see how it's done. Oh, okay, I like how that's done. So the spoiler doesn't necessarily hurt me, but that's me. So don't read the 30th anniversary introduction until you read Buttercup's baby if spoilers matter to you. Yeah, I can't really think of much else to say other than, while I am criticizing the ending, that I don't think either the happily ever after that's just written here, not explained, or the canon Morgenstern ending, I don't think either are that good. I should also acknowledge that I mean, mainly it's... Okay, so of the 5 novels I've written, ending of the first one, which I don't recommend, it's okay. I don't think it's bad. It's okay. I want to rewrite that one, and I will try to make the ending better, but substantively, it probably won't be all that different. Then I got Failure. I'm happy with the ending of Failure. I'm good with that. So yeah, got no issue there. Novel 3 is another one I don't really recommend, but that ending, substantively, I think is okay, at least for where the book is. I tried to write a horror story. I'm not a horror author, some way I think to put that, and I think the ending is appropriate for what I did right. It's just not that good, so I don't recommend it. Letter from Catherine, that one does just kind of end, and I do have regrets about that, but and when I do videos on that, I will talk about it more. I tried changing the ending, and the book fought me. Like, the story was like, no, this is the ending, just accept it. It's like, fine, but it does just kind of end. The Children Many Gifts, I'm not the happiest with the ending. It's okay. I think it's good enough. But it feels... The main reason why I have an issue with the ending is it seems like certain things came together that don't necessarily make sense, but time has passed that it makes sense that they could. You just don't see it. It's not on pages. The other is it feels too much like a resolution of things, some of which aren't actually resolved at this point. That even the next book for that, because So Many Gifts is sequel to Failure. I got 2 more books I want to write on that, and it does seem like the resolution, the end, as I was saying, for So Many Gifts seems to resolve certain things that at least one of them I know isn't, because it is going to be crucial to the next book and even the one after. But it was the best ending I could think of, and the story didn't really fight me, and the story wasn't really giving me much else to write then, so yeah. But I still think that even that, it resolved things. It's not like this, where Inigo's potentially bleeding to death, and he's... It even described, he doesn't... that he has his hand in his gut, and he's trying not to think about what his hand is touching. He's trying not to think about that. It's like, he needs surgery. So, yeah, and hang on, let me just check. I'm pretty sure. Okay. Yeah. Inigo was in despair. So there is a section called Inigo. And the first line is Inigo was in despair for Buttercup's baby. So he does survive, but it's still, it's like, we kind of need how. Wesley needs to recover. It's like, there's... Yeah, I don't care a great deal for the ending. But who knows? Maybe Buttercup's baby answers that. Maybe Buttercup's baby solves some of these issues. Maybe it's also... Okay, so my understanding is Goldman wanted to write a sequel, but he always struggled to do so. The 30th anniversary was basically a time that he could continue the frame narrative gimmick and say that, oh, well, now I've gotten permission to share an abridged version of just the first chapter, which may just be I couldn't really figure out what chapter to write. How to write the story. I finally wrote 1 chapter of it, and now, say I'm sharing that. Hopefully for the 50th anniversary, I'll have the whole thing written. I could believe that maybe he had some ideas because of the movie. It's like we need a happy ending for the movie that actually makes sense. You know, wrap all maybe he liked that and integrates that. I don't know. I will find out tomorrow. Um, so yeah, I can believe that that's what ends up happening. Um, that it just ends up accepting the movie's ending, or maybe something else. I don't know. I don't know. It will be interesting to see. I will say this though, that the way the movie ends, for the Princess Bride story, not the Grandpa, you can come back tomorrow and read it again. Which that is a perfect ending there, especially with Peter Falk turning and saying "as you wish." I mean that. Um, but that end there with, as I said, things being tied up, the kiss between Buttercup and Wesley, that does resolve so much there, and it's like it doesn't. Humperdinck, we last knew, was just tied up, so he's not a threat, and it's also he's embarrassed, he's exposed as a coward. His hatred may see him hunt down Wesley, but I think it would also be fair to say he would be self-destructive in doing so. I mean, as it is, his obsession was with death, not with life. So all of his discipline would lead him to be self-destructive in that way. Florin would probably fall apart. Which actually, yeah, I could even see that happening. Humperdinck going after them, trying to kill him, that failing again and again and again. Ultimately, maybe Humperdinck is killed, or at least broken. And Wesley and Buttercup return. And I can even see being she was made Princess of Hammersmith. The king is dead. Humperdinck's nowhere. I guess we make her. She was to marry him. Let's just make her the ruler. And Wesley, we can do that, can't we? It's like, all right. I could see there being some music there. I mean, that would be fun. But anyway, I'm just rambling now. For what it's worth, it's not that I like the sound of my own voice. It's that I do like talking. There is a difference there. I actually hate the sound of my own voice. But I do like just having these ideas and saying them aloud, talking them through. So, all right, let's stop this, get it processing, get it uploaded, and I'll see you next time for Buttercup's Baby, an explanation, which should just be like Goldman talking about what he was doing. And then we get Buttercup's Baby, S. Morgenstern's glorious examination of courage matched against the death of the heart, abridged by William Goldman. See you then.